Good morning. Good morning. Hey, Shannon, how are you this morning?
Good morning. I am good. How are you this morning?
I'm surprisingly well rested. I woke up at like 3:40 this morning and couldn't fall back asleep. Ended up going and sitting in my massage chair for a little bit and then going back to bed. So I am surprisingly well rested. I did miss out on the Northern Lights though, because I fell asleep at like 9 o'clock last night. It's like little old
We
lady last night. It was great.
we actually so we live in we're like tw 20 minutes, 15 minutes right outside of Minneapolis. And we usually can't see any of that stuff from our house, but you could see it. Not as good as, I had a friend that lives just 10 minutes away and she took pictures and it's like hers were even better, but I think it was the first time we could actually see anything from our house, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, my husband said that, like, I woke up this morning, he said, I think I saw the Northern Lights last night. And I was like, what? And he said, well, I took a picture, but it was pink.
hmm
And I didn't know that
hmm
the Northern Lights could be pink. And so he sent it in our family chat. And our son this morning sent this cool where it shows like, so if it's pink, it's above 150 miles. And it's excited atomic oxygen at high altitudes when it's pink. Um, if it's green, it's up to 150 miles. And if it's purple or blue, it's above 60 miles.
Yeah, and that's really all you saw. Like this was my house. So you saw the pink with the little bit of the green, but that was
There you go. My husband saw it through.
yeah,
So there
yours
you
is
guys
a
go.
deeper pink out there.
A little bit of Northern Lights last night, which is just so cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. I don't understand any of it, but it's pretty.
Yeah. How's your week been? We delayed a little bit this week, so what's been going on?
Well, it's kind of funny you would ask that because so we usually do these on Monday mornings, and I am not a morning person by nature. So then you combine the Monday morning thing with it, and it just always seems, especially with the traveling we've been having to do, that my Mondays have been a little off kilter. And so I thought, I didn't have any reason to change it this week. I just thought, I think I would do better if it was like Wednesday morning, not the first morning of the week or the whatever. So I asked you if we could move it. And then I was like, I wonder if that's a good idea. Because I was like, now have I invited in some sort of chaos for my Monday mornings? Like, has my mindset of Monday mornings are just usually kind of sideways or whatever? And I kid you not, like 20 minutes later, I get a phone call. My sister's crying, like and we need to take my dad to the ER. We spend half the night in the ER. He's fine. We spend half the night in the ER. And I'm like, I like opened the door to this. So now I had to just pray that off. But so that was, yeah, otherwise there was nothing going on at the time that I moved it. I just thought, gosh, I might have more energy on Wednesday mornings than I do on Monday morning because I'm in a groove by Wednesdays. And so that was all that there was behind it, was just a shift. You get up at like some ridiculous 4 in the morning time or something like that. So by 8, you're ready for lunch. I get up in time to be ready for this.
You know what? My body just naturally wakes up. Well, also I've started, I don't know, lately my sleep has been a little bit off, but it doesn't matter what time I go to sleep at night. I usually wake up around 5 or 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I have found that it's a really nice quiet time to get up and do my study. I've been continuing to do my study of Psalms 23, I Am the Shepherd by Aminta Geisler. You guys, this study is really, really cool. So it's just this um and she said it's about a 40-day study when or she was talking about 40 days and for some reason that got stuck in my head and here I'm almost done with it and I'm only like on like I looked and I will maybe get 30 days out of this. So I was like, I probably just need to slow down. And that's the thing when she does this, it's live. And so like she gives other assignments.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go back and look at a couple of things. And one of the things that i- i- as I've been very honest here is I'm learning the Bible, right? And it had us read the story um, of Hagar in Genesis 16, right? So the deep truth in on this page is I can't outrun God's goodness. And so I read Genesis 16 and I'm reading the story of Hagar and I'm like, this is not a great story. And the question is, in her pain, she runs away into the wilderness. How does God respond to her running? What is her revelation about him? And I was like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to understand about this story. So I sat on it for a couple of days, and yesterday I was praying and I was like, you know what? The story is about this woman being abused. Like I'm mad about this story. And what is good about this? And I got this nudge to reach out to Aminta and be like, hey, this story threw me for a loop. What's it about? Like why is
Hmm.
this a good story? Why is it included in this? And she was so graceful and so great. And she actually voice messaged me back and was like, okay, I'm so excited you're asking these questions. And I have to tell you, sorry, hold on. I need to,
'Tis the season.
tis the season, exactly. So she says, I'm so excited that you're asking these questions. She said, but to understand the story, you actually have to go back and understand this story is not actually about Hagar. It's about Abraham and Sarah not listening. And I was like, okay. And she's like, so they were promised a child and he was old, like he was getting old and like really old, like 100. And they didn't have a child yet. And so they decided, Sarah was like, okay, so take my slave and have a child. And then she got all butthurt about it and was like mean. So, um,
I wonder if butt hurt's a biblical word.
right.
Yeah,
I thought
it's
about
trying
it
to be
when I said it.
mean.
I was like, mm.
No, I think it's great because I say the same thing.
So then um Hagar runs away, right?
Hmm.
But what it is when 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 people, especially Christian people, try to force their own agenda instead of waiting for God's timing, they hurt innocent people. And that's what it was. They hurt this innocent woman and she was a slave, right? So and then Amenta was so she's like, but what I love about this is she was a slave. She would have had no rights. She would have been nothing, like there would have been no mention of her in the Bible, really,
Right.
if they hadn't done this. But what was great is she ran away to the wilderness, which was pretty much a death sentence. She would have died out there. But God met her there. And she wasn't important to anybody else, but she was important to God. And so as Aminta was explaining this, I was like, oh, okay, okay. Now
Yeah.
I see why this is a beautiful story. But if you take something out of context, this is super important, people. If you take something out of context, you can be like, oh my gosh, and totally offended for someone or something if you don't know the whole story.
Right.
So it was a really good lesson for me this week to go, okay, and then to stop and to listen and wait for God's timing.
Yeah, if you do a Bible study that you really enjoy, like you go through one and you're like, I love this, my recommendation is do it a minimum of 3 times. And not necessarily 3 times in a row, but come back to it in six. You will get something new and so much more out of it every single time. Like it just won't disappoint.
Yeah.
And I think what I love too is so when you talk about Abraham and Sarah, they're two people in the Bible where when somebody says Abraham and Sarah, the first thing you think is couldn't have a child and they waited on God and they were faithful and da 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 and you think, oh, I just want to be like Abraham and Sarah. And this story highlights the humanness of Abraham. Like they were not perfect either. It's like King David, the probably the most renowned character in the Bible. Very human, very lots of things in the little tick the bucket list of things we did that we shouldn't have done. Yet, probably like I said, one of the most, I don't want to say important characters in the Bible. I mean, probably that's not a bad word, but I think God would argue that all of them have equal importance in their own way, but just one of the most well known and one of the most of, David was anointed by God type character, and yet so very human.
Yeah.
And so I love that story with Abraham and Sarah because it's one of the stories that show just how human they were. That even in their faithfulness, they were still human beings making mistakes and getting in their own way, which is so funny because this happens to us so often. So I've been doing a Max Lucado Bible study, and I love the way he writes because I don't know, he's just got a little like spark to his writing. So like he's trying to talk to us about trusting in God, and he's like, I came across your scripture. I just don't know if you know, but there was reporters back in the, biblical times, and he's like, what did he call it? He calls it the Holy Land Press interviews Moses, about the Red Sea, and so he does this little thing. But it's great because when he's talking about it, he's like, so did you attack? And he's like, no, we didn't attack. We wouldn't have won. He's like, did you retreat? No, we had nowhere to go. He's like, well, what'd you tell your people? He's like, well, I told them to stand still. And he's like, well, with the enemy coming, you told them not to move. And he says, yep, I told the people stand still and we'll see, and you will see that the Lord will save you. And he's like, well, why would you want your people to stand still? And he says to get out of God's way. If you don't know what to do, just sit tight until he does his thing. And he says, that's an odd strategy, don't you think? This is supposed to be, a newspaper interview. So this is so great. And he says, and Moses says, it is if you are big enough for the battle. But when the battle is bigger than you are and you want God to take over, it's all you can do. So stand still. But I got to thinking about that because then he starts to break it down after he does his little thing with the interview. And he talks about God's job being to fight and our job being to trust, to just trust, not direct, not question, not try and yank the wheel out of his hands, but to pray and wait and trust. And I thought, isn't that interesting that one of the things people struggle with most in this world is trust? And we always look at it from the perspective of some sort of past hurt and rarely look right at it from the perspective of spiritual warfare.
And what's interesting is the person we least trust most often is ourself
Oh,
because of
so
past hurt.
true. Hmm.
And so then if you can't trust yourself, you can't trust anyone else. And it's really hard to trust in God when it's so hard to hear him unless we get still.
Well, yeah, and I just think through conversations I've had over the years, and whenever you talk to somebody and they're having trouble trusting, and they'll be like, "Well, I was in this relationship, or growing up with my parents, it was like this." There's all sorts of instability or things that have proven to them that you can't trust people. And I don't, not that I can recall, and maybe I have, but not that I can recall. I don't ever recall looking at it and saying, well, this is a God thing, not a people thing. Like specifically going right to, I mean, it's easy to be like, well, let's pray about this or let's try and give it to God, but to really identify it as this is a tactic that Satan uses to
Mhm.
create separation between you and God. This is not a people issue. This is a getting in the way of God issue. And I thought, well, that, I don't know, that really hit me for whatever reason. So I
Yeah.
think I think that's a great way to approach that subject with people that I hadn't thought to do before.
It's so funny because so often the Lord is telling us not to fear. And he's like, just trust.
Yeah.
And you're right, that's absolute spiritual warfare to, sorry, my brain is like noodling on that now.
I know, because you right, because it's such a common thing. It's like, well, I don't trust this. I don't trust this person. I don't. We throw that word around,
Hmm.
but when you really start to think about it, it's like, ooh, that's an important word, and especially in relationship to God, it was just a connection I hadn't made in that way before. So when I read it, I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then here you come in with kind of the same, different take on the same version, the same story,
Well, yeah,
basically.
because Abraham and Sarah didn't trust.
Right.
And so they just
got in God's way and did their own thing, hurt somebody in the process.
Yeah.
And so, anyway,
Yes. So here's your question, people. Where are you not trusting? Right?
yeah. And where are you trusting? Like
Ooh,
both.
that's an even better question. Sorry, my throat just I got some.
I know. It's the fall morning thing. It's the season. But I think there's the two sides of that question. And I think both are important. You have to look at where am I not trusting, like, or who am I not trusting, or what am I not trusting, but who am I trusting? Am I putting all of my faith in myself? Am I getting out of God's way? Am I standing still when I need to and moving when I need to? Don't be that person either who just stands still forever, blaming God, like God's going to do it for me. Uh, God is a God of action as well. I mean, there's a balance between stand still and get off your butt. So that's why it's important to trust and listen.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the kind of shifting gears, but not really. I saw a reel this week. You gotta love just doom scrolling, right? And this woman is standing in line at a grocery store, yelling at the top of her lungs, "Why won't anyone pay for this for me?" And
Mm.
somebody was like, are you serious right now? And she goes, "What happened to community? Someone should pay for this for me." And I was like, ooh, okay, well, so many thoughts and judgments going through my head about that. And my thought is, what would I do in that situation? If I was behind her in line, like what would I do? And I was talking with my daughter about this yesterday, and she goes, "Well, listen to the spirit. Might tell you to pay for it, might tell you to walk away, might tell you to calmly talk to the woman and see what it is like, what is it that you like really need right now? Because did she like really need those groceries? Did she really need someone to just listen to her story, help her? Because obviously she was not coping well."
Right.
And then it started this great conversation about how things used to be. Like you used to have community where you would get together and the kids would play and you'd be washing clothes together or doing all of those things. And so her question of where is community? It's a great question. I don't think she was asking it in a way that was helpful, but maybe not. Like here I am thinking about this because the old me would have been like, "Oh my gosh, lady, really?" But the new me
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, what would I do in that situation?"
It's an interesting question. I know myself well enough to know that the minute she yelled that out, my very initial reaction would be, maybe would have, but not gonna now. Like that would have been I'm being honest, like that would have been the biggest turnoff for me. And then I would have had to, hopefully, I would have had a little talk with myself that maybe I should be a little more,
Well, it's hard to see a full-grown woman in a 2-year-old toddler tantrum. Like
yeah,
and she was uh I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me if she was shopping at Walmart. It,
right.
so not and that's like
If
super
we're gonna be
if
stereotypical,
we're going to
yeah.
be stereotypical, it was the epitome of a stereotypical give me. And I'm like, okay, you know, but it made me take a good hard look at myself. I remember when the kids were younger and we had gone to the Mall of America and we're in line for one of the rides. And it was a long line and there was lots of people. And there was a kid in full-blown meltdown. And this was a special needs kid. And I was looking because I was like, oh, what could I do to help? Like literally my thought. And this woman is like, yeah, everybody just stare at us. And I did exactly what you did. Well, I was going to see what I could do to help, but not now, right? Because
Right.
she just put off this like, just, it was because I honestly was like, oh, I wonder how I could help. And
Yeah.
then that was just the biggest turnoff. So
I think the
I,
biggest thing I try and keep in mind is our first emotion that we express freely when we're at a loss is anger. We always go to anger and frustration. Rarely ever are we actually angry. Like we're hurt, we're embarrassed, we're sad, we're feeling desperate, we're feeling lonely. But those feelings can all be so much more difficult to deal with and acknowledge and know how to work through. So it just funnels through this anger. And then if you don't recognize that and, like you said, step back to take a moment and be like, okay, what does she really need? And what is my role in this? God, like, direct my steps here.
yes.
You
And
get very deflective. It's just like, it's a turn off for lack of a better word.
oh, absolutely. And that's what I would do now. Now I'm like, oh, I would actually go up to an angry person, I think, and be like, "Hey, I see that you're struggling. How can I help?"
Yeah.
Um, I still don't know about the woman in the store though. My daughter's answer was the correct one.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to know. And I think what we'd each do could be different on that day, depending on where we're at and hopefully how God is nudging us. But it's funny because whenever I see kids throwing fits, I always smile because I think, oh, one, I'm so happy that I'm beyond those days.
Yes.
And then two, I'll usually, if I'm passing them or in proximity, like I just did this the other day. Some little girl was just throwing an absolute fit and she was like 3. And I just did like the shock value thing as we walked by. I said, "Oh my gosh, your dress is so pretty. I can't believe you wore that today. That's my favorite color." And it's just she was so shocked that the little girl, she just stopped crying. She started looking at me and she started looking at her dress and it just kind of broke the thing. And then the mom and I kind of gave each other a little nod and just went on our way. But
It's such a good way to handle it too,
uh,
because you didn't acknowledge the fit at all. You acknowledged something different that she could get excited about.
yeah, but it's funny. With my kids, I had one child out of my 3, only one child ever did that, threw the big fit. And we happened to be at a Toys R Us, which we frequented because my husband collects Hot Wheels, and so like they know us. And I mean like know us so well that these little teenagers invited us, like we've been invited to their weddings and they're like 40 now and we, we still know them. But she just started throwing a fit in the floor and we just walked away. We went to another aisle, like we didn't acknowledge it all. We went around the corner to another aisle and we told the employee, we're like, just keep an eye on her. And just left her there. And that was it. It didn't work, so she didn't do it again. So we were very fortunate that we did not have that happen quite often. But I feel so horrible for those parents because you can just feel the tension and the frustration and, you know, the embarrassment, even though every parent has experienced it.
You know, that's what God's doing with us right now. He's just around the corner, just peeking at us, like,
I know.
got an eye on you,
Yeah.
throwing
Get
your
off
fit
the
in the aisle.
floors. Stop throwing your tantrum.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, how often
Yeah.
do I throw a tantrum?
Well, and it's funny. I did a Bible study through a church that we attended once where the favorite part of my Bible study, it was around Christmas time. It was a short Bible study, and it was the story of the birth of Jesus and the story of Mary and Joseph. And he starts it out by talking about how it's people have such a hard time reading the Bible. They'll say, and you don't understand. He's like, but if you really stop and you read the story for what it is, he's like, the Bible is better than any TV drama you could ever turn on. He's like, and it's kind of like you were talking about with the Abraham and Sarah story. Like you stop to think about it. He's like, stop to think about Mary and Joseph, and she's a virgin, and then he, and everything going on. She should have been stoned, and what it would have been like to be her living in this town where everybody's looking at, and he just really dramatized it up. And it's like when you really stop to think about the and like he says, we fail to realize a lot of times when we read the Bible that these are actual real people. So when you read their stories and interpret it as you would if it was happening to your neighbor, it puts a little bit of a different perspective on it. It's like, oh, these are real people just like me.
Yes. Yes. Um,
So
and I like the putting it into perspective. So my daughter, when we were talking yesterday, it was actually really great. We've started doing this meal prepping together, and we'll meal prep enough food and then find somebody. I think I talked about this being their snack angel. So I dropped off food to somebody yesterday. It was like,
you
hey,
did not talk about this.
oh, okay.
No.
So I'll come back to the snack angel. But we were meal prepping, and so we were just talking about the different things I had talked about. The like just getting that information back from Aminta about Hagar and Abraham and Sarah, and she said, yeah, when she goes, it's a good study. She said she had done this. She had so many windows popped open as she was researching different things, and she goes, it's a good study when you have so many windows open. And then all of a sudden in her brain, she goes, oh my gosh, that helps me understand Isaiah. Because if you were to say, I did this great study with all these windows open, back then they'd be like, why did you have to open all the windows of your house? And if you understand, and she went in to tell me about some part, which I can't remember right now, but there's a specific term, and it was actually like a nautical type term for something that was around that time. If you don't understand that, you just look at that word and you're like, I don't understand Isaiah. So, and I haven't jumped deep into Isaiah yet because I'm still like milk before meat, right?
I think the Bible is such a great example of how words matter. And when you go into series, when the pastor's teaching a series in church, and it's funny how they'll point out to the one word or the one phrase that changes the whole dynamic of the meaning of the story when you break it down and understand what the word means or what the word meant at that time or in the Hebrew language or I find it fascinating. And it can be challenging. I'll say that as well.
Um, Absolutely. Sorry, I'm looking because I'm trying to find where it is. So, I think I talked about the snack angel just briefly. Um, s- and I'm forgetting where it is exactly, but and now right now my brain is going completely blank as to who it was, but we'll remember that in just a second. But there one of the prophets was preaching, and Aminta talks about this, and then it's in this study as well. But he's preaching and he's just absolutely frustrated because nothing is working out. And so he goes out and he's like, Lord, I'm done. Goes out into the wilderness, is like, I'm done. So just like I want to die. And he falls asleep. And he wakes up, and maybe it's Isaiah. All right. So anyway, he wakes up and there is an angel there that gives him snacks. And then he falls asleep. And he wakes up again, the angel's there and like eat some more food, and then we're gonna walk 40 days in the desert to Mount Sinai, and he gets to see the Lord. And why am I not remembering who it was?
I don't remember this conversation, but it's so funny because my brain went in a totally different direction. When you said snack angel, and we had been talking about the lady at the grocery store who needed the food, and last week we were talking about the SNAP benefits and the
Oh,
worry over food and everything else. And so I'm thinking like literally you were doing some sort of food program or
okay, no,
something.
so anyway, yes, sorry.
My,
I'm like all over the place today. Anyway, so
my brain went there. You didn't take us there. That's just where.
but I didn't finish the story. So a couple weeks ago when my daughter was like, "Hey mom, I'd love to start food prepping. Like, can we get together and like food prep and then um can we make like an extra meal and go drop it off to somebody who needs it?"
Mhm.
And when she was talking about it, I was like, "Ellie, you want to be somebody's snack angel." Like, don't we all want the Lord to be like, here, you're tired,
Yeah.
you're exhausted. You have done all of this stuff. You've done all this stuff that is good, and now you're at the point of exhaustion and you're giving up. Okay, well, here's a snack, take a nap, and then get up and get to work, right? And so I'm figuring out as we do this because we're gonna meal prep every like 2 weeks to get together, meal prep a bunch of meals, and then um this week was my turn to like find somebody, and there was somebody at church who had just had surgery, and so I want to put together, and now I have to find the story, like a little thing about like I know that you're exhausted or you've had this thing happen,
Mhm.
but God wanted you to have a snack angel, so here you go. Right?
That's very cute.
But it's and not to be like, oh, look at us, thank us, and not that at all. It's just such a beautiful thing that you can do is you can be that community, that person who so like I reached out to the ladies at church and I was like, okay, like who needs something? And then it's also weird because like yesterday it was just like chili and cornbread. It was just not not a big extravagant meal or anything, but just being able to drop something off and help somebody to know that they are seen, that the Lord knows that they've been struggling, right?
Right. The meal is not the important part. It's more the intent. I mean, the meal could be the important part, but the intent is really the important part for their sake and for yours. And like you said, it builds that sense of community, which is we're so easy to shoo that piece of way these days because it's like, well, I'll just go to Costco and grab one of their pre-made things and you just have to put it in the oven and it's already ready to go in the freezer. Or I go to this. I think there's far more significance around a homemade meal now than there used to be because there's much fewer households making homemade meals.
That's true. You know, there's been times where I've just picked up like a cub chicken, a bagged salad, and like rolls and dropped that off to somebody, which is still like if somebody were to drop that off to me, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I don't have to make dinner tonight. This is awesome."
Right, absolutely.
But I didn't think about the homemade part.
I mean, just in general, in life in general, there's a lot of households that don't. I mean, you just look at the grocery store, and it's like the outside aisles are your homemade food aisles, and the whole three-fourths of the store is boxed, canned, whatnot. And then, like I said, now you go to Costco and it's like, oh, I can just buy. I mean, Costco's got a thing because we bought it once. I was like, oh, look, this we can have this for dinner night. It's like meatloaf on one half and mashed potatoes on the other half. It's like your whole full meal and it's already all cooked. You just have to warm it up. And so with that can be, and then DoorDash, I mean, now you don't even have to cook anything. You can just have somebody deliver something to you or, the different grocery store apps or the whatever different things are out there.
That's
And
true.
so I think a homemade meal is actually harder to come by.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, if you live out of state, having DoorDash when someone I had a really, really hard day when at the beginning of this year I was out at my mom's house that I was cleaning out and I was by myself and I was struggling and some things were said to me before people left that were hurtful and my sweet daughter had ice cream delivered to me. And I'm like,
Oh,
so having those capabilities to be able to send something so that people know, like, so if they're far away, those are great tools to be like, you know what? This is just getting dropped off to you. I can't be there to make a homemade meal, but I want you to know I'm thinking about you, or
yeah.
an ice cream delivery. Like it was the best.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, absolutely. It's not to downplay those things.
No, but just a snack angel in general.
Yeah.
We all need snack angels. And so I loved that idea. And my daughter was so cute. She's like, okay, so we're gonna figure out like a little something and put a scripture in there, like put the story in there, like we see you, we see that you're struggling, or we see that, you just had something traumatic happen. And we just want you to know that you are loved and you are cared for.
So when you're prepping for 2 weeks, are you doing freezer meals, meals you can put in the freezer?
So yesterday we canned chili. So we
Oh, that's
made
right.
like I made a vat. It was a big old vat of chili, and then we I pressure canned 7 quarts, and then there was enough for both families, and we actually did two other families yesterday. So that it was a lot of chili. And then
Okay, now wait, I have one more question now because
mhm.
we should have a whole episode about canning because I just need to, when you can chili, did you just put the chili in there? Do you have to put something else in the can? You just put the chili in there and it preserves just as chili. You don't have to put no special anything else
No,
in it to,
you have to pressure can it. You can't hot
right.
water bath it. So there's
And
a
it doesn't matter if there's a little like gap between the chili and the top of the thing, like
You have to have a gap. If you don't have a gap, it
it'll
doesn't
like explode, right? It won't
it,
pressurize.
it doesn't pressurize. Exactly.
See, I mean, I've known people who like can fruit and stuff, but I've never seen somebody can chili. So now I'm wondering, like, how does it work the same way?
Yes.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So and because ch and it's so funny because I have a friend of mine, she goes, I refuse to call it canning because you're using glass jars. I'm like, it really is jarring, but then that sounds r weird too. Because you can't chili out of a can is not the same as if you make homemade chili and then
Yeah.
jar can it.
Have you had chili out of a can
Yeah.
anytime recently? Like anytime in the last few years?
Oh no.
It's like worse than it used to be. Like when we were kids and we'd have chili out of a can.
Now, I will tell you, I do cheat right now. And we were just talking about this yesterday. I was like, okay, this is the last time because we do take canned chili and then we add because it's just chili beans in or it's just pretty much
Yeah.
pinto beans and chili sauce. And then I we add hamburger and onions and peppers and petite diced tomatoes and chilies and seasonings and. But I told my daughter, I said, why are we doing this out of the can? Why aren't we just getting beans, soaking them? And she's like, we just haven't done that yet. So that is that is the next part. So I've been lazy so far. We're gonna take a next step.
Well, and it's funny because I think that's part of when we talk about community and it's like what has happened with community. I think to some degree, convenience is what has happened. Is, for every step forward we've taken in technology, there's one less thing we need another person for.
Mm,
Your microwave does it for you, your washer does it for you, your dryer does it for you. You literally, I have to be conscious now that I work remotely because I can Zoom and I can do it. I literally can go days without leaving my house and not even notice. And my husband will be like, let's go somewhere. Like, you need to get out of the house because everything I need can come here to me or
mhm.
is already here. And, that sort of advancement in technology and options also creates or can create, if you're not mindful of it, a barrier between human beings, you
Yes.
know?
Well, we already have a huge barrier between us and our food. There was
But yeah, very true.
there was You guys, again, I love reels. They're just fun. I limit my time, but there was somebody who was like, why do we need farms? Don't these people know you can just go to a grocery store? I was like,
Up.
that is like super separated from our food. So this year, one of the things that I learned to do was actually butcher chickens.
No.
And then we just had our first meal. I made Italian chicken soup out of the chickens that we raised. Learned a couple cool things. Okay. There's uh roosters, they're tough. Like you have to like really long boil those things. 'Cause they're
Yeah. I thought you weren't supposed I thought you didn't eat the roosters.
you can. Yeah.
Okay.
They just go
I
to
don't know.
freezer. They can go to freezer camp. That's what we call it. But they are not good. Like you have to have specific chickens for that's why they have meat chickens and they have layer chickens. And they do
Okay.
have dual purpose where it can be both. But it's a definite difference. And it was a really cool process because I was able to thank each chicken. Now, my husband and son are the ones that like
Okay.
ended them, which I could, but
I don't
why?
know if I could. I don't
Like,
know if
well, I could now. The first one, like and we have a thing that plucks we have a feather plucker,
I could.
which is great because it gets most of them off. And then the first time I had to cut into a warm chicken because it's weird. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. But I before like as we took them over there, I was like, thank you so much for like because these are old layers or they were the new roosters because we hatched like 10 of them. You can't
Oh.
have any roosters. And then the bear ate the ones that we saved. So anyway, we don't have any roosters currently. But the first one was tough and the second one was easier. And then after that, it was easier. And it was just, I was able to the whole time just be like, thank you for the meat that you're giving us. This is awesome. Right. But these chickens had their best life. The chickens you get from the store are kept in a little tiny, can't move around. And that's where I'm saying we're so separated from our food, we don't know what's happening.
Right.
We just got a chuck roll, right? So big, 25 pounds. And we get half a cow at a time, but we've always had the butcher like do the hamburger meat.
Hmm.
And well, we were supposed to get another half a cow in October, and they said it was too small, so it won't be until January now. So we're waiting. And so I just went to Costco and I got a chuck roll and cut it apart and we used a grinder and we did it ourselves. And we're like, why are we letting the butcher do that for us when we could do it ourselves? Saves us money. And then all the like the fat and everything I'm able to render down to lard and it's an interesting process when you start learning these things that a couple generations ago people knew. We had to do those
Yeah.
things. And so getting back to, I love the whole homesteading culture that's coming back because, first off, again, reels, I'm learning so many things. And then that's how I've been finding different people that I like to follow. There's a amazing woman here in Minnesota, just northern Minnesota. Her name's Katie, and I bought her chicken, um, whatchamacallit, workshop. I don't know.
Could
Anyway,
be. Yeah. I don't, you're asking the wrong person.
anyway, there's a word for it and it's not coming to me, but I bought it and that's how I learned to eviscerate chickens by
Okay.
watching her videos and her
Tutorial.
yeah. She got it's something else. Like there's a different word, but tutorial works. And so she has lots of different ones. I'll put a link here if you guys want to know more about homesteading. Katie with Homesteading RD on Instagram. She's like one of the best people to follow.
Well, and it's interesting because I think people like me are getting more to a place where when we live right in the middle of a big suburb and not a big plot of land, not my calling. But that being said, there's things that we do want to do, and there are things you can do that kind of fall into that realm a little bit. You don't have to. I think people have the false mindset of homesteading means you either live like Little House on the Prairie or you live like today. Like, I don't think they see the in between where you could start with an herb garden, grow, the few things that you like, go whatever, put some solar panels up if you want to go that direction. Even now, even in Coon Rapids, we can have you have to have certain size property because you have to be able to be so many feet from your neighbor, but we can have four chickens. Four. That's the limit in Coon Rapids. You can have four chickens, but you can have four chickens.
Yeah. And that's how so I'm literally in the middle of no, I'm on the edge of Maple Grove. So like city and around me since we bought this place has just like boom, right?
Yeah.
So we've got like a little protected area in the middle of about it's just a street, but I think forward, backwards, sideways, it's a couple hundred acres, maybe 200 acres that's protected right now, but I think it's getting smaller and smaller as Maple Grove grows. And we just have a little over 3.5 acres. And on here, it's been really fun to learn all the different things that we can do. Things that people don't think about is your food scraps. What are you doing with your food scraps? It could go in the garbage, or now we're being charged to put those into a food scrap bin, which they wanted us to buy a bin or give us a bin, and I was like, no, like don't do that. We still have to pay for the service, even though we're not using it because our food scraps go either to our chickens or to the compost, right? Or to our dogs. Like we use all of that. And it's so funny because our youngest son um forgets, and a lot of times I'll like find a banana peel in the garbage and I'm like, it goes in the like I have on my counter, we've got one for chickens, one's for compost, and then one is our eggshells. Because eggshells can't, there's a million different things you can do with eggshells. And nobody thinks about that. Now, store-bought eggshells, I would be a little more cautious of because there is a process that they go through that
Yeah,
uh
like they bleach them or do different stuff to them, don't they? Yeah.
which okay, we're gonna since I started on the eggs. Do you know that the farmer has 30 days to get the eggs to the processing plant? The processing plant has 30 days to get the eggs to the market. The market has 30 days to sell them. Right there, we're already at like 3 months.
That's gross.
But then they are sent from the store back to the processing plant. They float them and check it, are they still good, and can send them back and forth. So your eggs that you're eating could be up to 6 months old.
Interesting.
Where the eggs that I gather, so I make sure I keep my nests really clean. When it's muddy, it's hard. But I make sure that the birds aren't sleeping in the nest, that if there's poop in the nest, I clean it out right away. Um, so the shells are fairly clean. They have something on them called a bloom. The bloom keeps the bacteria out. Now, eggs are really porous. If you are bleaching your eggs, what's happening?
So would that explain why the yolks of store-bought eggs are so much lighter than the fresh eggs?
No, that is a
Okay.
whole other thing, which I'll tell you in just a second. But excuse me. The when people pick up eggs from me, I let them know these eggs have not been washed. They can sit on your counter for up to 3 weeks. If you wash them, put them in the fridge right away.
Right.
So, yeah, so I make sure that the bloom is still on it. The reason yolks are so much lighter is because those chickens don't ever see any sunlight.
Okay.
And that's why.
Well, isn't that a testament to the light that we all need, that
Hmm.
a living being needs?
Now, I've had people who are like, why are your egg? Because our egg yolks are darker, but they're not as dark as some people. And they're like, well, why not? And I said, because our
You have a
chickens have
very
a
shaded property.
very shaded property. And so they don't get as much sun.
Yeah.
But
So you have a
our,
lot of trees on your property.
mhm, yeah. So that's the difference.
Huh.
But it's
It's very cool.
all the things you never knew you needed to know about eggs.
Well, and the point being, right, is if you're interested, there's all kinds of little things you can do, even with it, starting with chickens, starting with small gardens. A lot of cities, like I know Coon Rapids, has a lot of different initiatives on if you want to put solar in or if you want to put a drainage pond in your front yard. They ran a thing where you got some sort of tax credit if you put this small little drainage pond in your yard up by the curb so that when it rains, the idea is the water absorbs slowly back into the land versus, flooding the streets and trying to go all down the drains or the whatever. I have no idea if it worked or not, but still, there's things from that direction if you're interested in like the solar, the drainage, the wind, the whatever. And then you have the gardening pieces and even some of the homemade pieces. My daughter this year is so cute. She's, out on her own. She put up her first Christmas tree and she made all these paper ornaments, these beautiful paper, like origami-ish looking ornaments. She just looked it up online and she's got this beautiful, like, tree star on the top of her tree made out of paper. And it's like incredible. And she's having so much fun. And she made like paper chains to put her, to decorate on her house, like we used to make when we were kids and stuff. And I mean, there's so many things you can do to just kind of simplify it and get back to something a little more, I don't know. You feel like you're more in touch with something. I don't even know how to say that right, but you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I'm only laughing because I want to start the debate of when does the Christmas tree go up? Because it does not go up until the day after Thanksgiving.
When your children move out and they've lived in a home where their dad doesn't let it go up till sometime within the first 2 weeks of December,
Oh, that's
it
right.
goes up in October because it can, is what happened. My daughter Sadie bought this year a tall, thin tree for her bedroom so that she could decorate when she wanted to. So my 18-year-old upstairs has a fully decorated tree in her bedroom, and my 20-year-old at her house has had a tree up now for um, a month. Here's Sadie's tree that she just put in her bedroom.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And then Dacia's got, we have this family chat where they got stuff in there, and Dacia's got her whole house is like, she's got these, she's got like the chains and stuff, paper chains hanging all over
Oh
her
my goodness, that's
house.
awesome.
Yeah, there's her tree. It's like,
Those really are beautiful.
yeah, she does, and she's been making them all because she's like, I'm poor. I don't have the money to go buy a bunch of stuff, and so that's what she's been doing in her spare time. Just
I love it. I
yeah,
love that you don't have to be rich to do things. You just have to be creative, right?
yeah,
And I think that's what we need to get back to more of is being creative, being a part of community, helping others. Um, yeah, my heart is very much in that space.
yeah. Well, and you get excited when you see my kids are a little bit younger than yours, but I'm sure you see it still. Um, they're getting so much more invested in doing activities with people versus not really going to the movies or not really stuff, but like Sadie just had a whole box of stuff arrive here yesterday. I'm like, what is all this? She's like, remember when we were kids and you had the craft bins with all the different stuff and we would craft and there was just all these things, the googly eyes and there's all the stuff and we could just make whatever. She's like, I bought all of that stuff so when Mari comes over here, we can just make stuff together and do crafts and do and it's cool to see those sort of things coming back around. Simple things too. I miss the simplicity of things.
My daughter is still using the stuff. Like I, I've been really bad about throwing stuff away, which is great right now. So everything, all the craft bins were in when we moved from our big house. We had the little house has two garages, and then we have
Hmm.
the house here. And so the little garage at little house has all my stuff still in it. And we just haven't, but the kids have been going in there. So Ellie and the boys go in there and they're like, hey, I found this box of stickers. Can we use them? Absolutely. Found this
Yeah.
box of paper craft, right? The craft bin. I was like, yes. And so it's still being used.
Oh, that's so funny. Sadie, walked into her room last night, and across her room, she bought this huge, huge thing of pipe cleaners, all different colors, and they're like literally piled on her whole bed. I'm like, what are you doing? And here she was making these big um flowers, these big like lilies out of pipe cleaners and doing this thing, and I'm just like, it's fun to watch them be creative.
Yes.
So,
All right. So what I want to know from people, if you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you. What is it? First off, where do you need to trust or where are you trusting more? Second, what are you doing with your like traditions? Are you doing anything fun or creative? And third, um, is there anything about homesteading that you are doing or you would like to know more information about? So there we go. Those are your questions. Hope that you have an amazing, blessed day. Shannon, anything else?
Nothing to add.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.